Welcome to the Real Freedom Podcast, episode 0 with your host, Ryan Weimer. What is an episode 0? Well, I wanted to set the stage for what you can expect from this show and how you can extract the best value from it. A podcast is something I always wanted to do because it changed my life. It brought me so much positivity, experience, and knowledge. You know, nowadays you can get almost anything you want from YouTube University or from podcasts to change your life. I truly believe that. Just speaking for me personally, I'm not much of a reader. I learn audibly. So some people learn from videos, some people learn from writing stuff down, some people learn from reading. I'm a big podcast guy. Much like books, podcasts can really be your shortcut to saving years of struggle and going through the shit of other people's lessons that have already learned them. And so before we kick things off, I'm not afraid to bribe my way to the top. So for everybody that leaves a 5-star review and subscribes by the end of January, you're going to be entered in to receive a free $1,000. That's right, $1,000. If you just take the 30 seconds to write a 5-star review and subscribe, you'll be automatically entered. So what is real freedom and how do you get it? This isn't going to be some bullshit fluff financial freedom podcast about how to save $5 a day by not going to Starbucks, and then you'll have everything you want in life. But I can tell you from my experience in business, everything you want in life is right on the other side of being uncomfortable. So the goal with all of my content is really to bring you enough confidence and positivity that you start taking action to get uncomfortable and live life on your terms. The number one thing you need to check while you're listening to this is your mindset. Most people think to really live the life you want, you have to be born into a wealthy family, you have to win the lottery, you have to have something super lucky happen to you. If you're thinking these thoughts, you're probably in the must be nice crowd. Must be nice that Ryan lives in London and gets to live life on his terms and work for himself, or must be nice that that person has all of that stuff and I'm here really struggling on a day-to-day basis. While that's completely normal as humans, that's a large percentage of the population, and you really just have to check yourself. That's called having a victim mindset. So if you're having those must be nice type of thoughts, that's a pretty clear indication that you have a victim mindset. And so that's the first thing we need to address when listening to this, is you have to believe that you actually have control over your life and that you can change things for the better or worse to actually live life on your terms. So we're not going to focus on a lot of other shows that use fear-mongering as clickbait. We're actually going to focus on the things we can control instead of the things we can't. And then number 2 is you really just have to define what you want. I know what you're thinking. This sounds extremely simple. I think about what I want on a daily basis. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about getting really intentional about this is what I want the next few months of my life to look like. This is what I want the next year to look like. This is where I want to be in 10 years. This can change over time, but you really have to create a vision that aligns with your actions today. Because when we feel anxiety or we feel disappointment or we don't feel motivation, it's because our why is not aligned to our daily actions. So a great example of this is working a job that you hate, right? Every day, it's a struggle to get out of bed. It's a struggle to show up to work and just punch the clock for something that you hate doing. Your employer knows it's not your future. You know it's not your future. It's really difficult to be excited about something like that, right? So this can change over time, but your homework from this episode today is to sit down maybe by yourself or with your spouse and look at the next year and decide, what do I want? So if you've never done this, sit down by yourself or with your spouse, divide it up into different categories. You got business, you've got health, you've got financial, you've got spiritual, you've got physical goals, any kind of categories you want. Maybe you have travel goals. Me and my wife like traveling around the world all the time. That's part of our financial freedom mission and what we're all about. And actually define what that next year looks like. At the end of 2024, I want this. She wants that. Just that one step of writing these things down is going to make it tangible and feel attainable. I'm going to keep it real with you guys, which is why every show we start off talking about failure. So let's talk about mine. I grew up in the status quo, go to school, get a job, and climb the corporate ladder mindset. I went to a small engineering school called Colorado School of Mines, got my engineering degree. I was riding high. I got a great job out of college with a high starting salary, and I thought I had it. Well, the market turned and I got laid off from that first job. And that was really the first point where I thought, hey, somebody ultimately has control over my life, and I don't like that. And it wasn't just getting laid off. It was also just the feeling of being completely underwhelmed. I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. The whole corporate structure and reporting to somebody that didn't know anything was just the worst. You put a lot of time, effort, and energy into getting this fantastic degree only to get laid off in a couple years. That feels pretty crappy. So I moved to San Diego cold turkey, and I got another engineering job working for a semiconductor company. And that was great for a while. I was flying all over the world. I was having a great time. But ultimately, they still controlled my schedule, and I was trading time for money. So I'm working really hard in this job. I'm sacrificing nights, weekends, holidays. I was in my 6th week in Taiwan. It's the week before Thanksgiving. And my manager goes, "Hey, the project's not done. We need you to extend again." And I said, "Yeah, but next week's Thanksgiving. I was only supposed to be here 3 weeks. I've been here 6. I'm coming home." And he said, "No, you're not." And so at that moment, I realized, I really don't have any control here. And that was kind of the last straw. So that's another moment when you realize you're not really in control. And I think that mixed with looking around, if you're working a corporate job right now, I have nothing against that at all. We'll get into it in later episodes, but that's exactly how I was able to qualify for some conventional loans. Now, had I known about some kind of sales role, maybe my path would be completely different. In a sales role, you actually get compensated relative to the value that you bring or the revenue that you bring into the company. So when we talk about financial freedom, really, we're talking about time freedom. When I was feeling stuck, it's because I couldn't actually control how much money that I made. Just the thought of working until you're 50 or 60 years old, hoping that you have enough retirement left in your 401k at that time to then actually be able to live the life you want is so backwards. And your biggest challenge in listening to this podcast is 99% of the population does not think like this. They think like working till 50 or 60 and then living the life that you want is totally normal, and that there's not another avenue or not another way. And so you have to squash those self-limiting beliefs and that scarcity mindset. So as that event plus me getting passed up for a promotion was enough pain for me to start looking for other ways. And I didn't really know what I was doing, right? I'm just like not feeling great. I remember feeling anxious and frustrated the whole time because it was that underlying feeling of what I'm doing today is not getting me closer to what I want in the future. Pain in that is what caused me to get curious. I found out about bigger pockets and I started looking into real estate and ended up buying a rental property. Once I got that first rental property, which I bought 50-50 with my college roommate, Corey, and I could see how much cash flow that was producing on a monthly basis, I got completely addicted, right? This was an avenue where I could buy an asset and then control what I bought it at, what work I did. I knew exactly what value I could get from it. And better yet, I could go direct to seller and source my own deals. There are so many things to love about real estate, but the best part about it is you can insider trade. You can buy an asset that you already know is worth more than you're buying it for. And day one, all you got to do is find the deal. And day one, you know you've made money. So when that clicked for me and I found out that there was another way, there was another path to get to ultimate time freedom and dictate what I want to do with my life, I double dipped for 3.5 years. So I'm working my corporate job. I'm working nights, weekends, lunch, cold calling, trying to drum up seller leads, trying to get more deals. And so having that W-2 job took a lot of the risk off the table for me. I could qualify for a conventional loan. I could spend money on marketing without having to worry about it, as long as I was living below my means, which I was. And eventually I was able to quit that engineering job and go into real estate full time because my income then surpassed what I was making as an engineer. But it was not easy at all. I had to face a lot of my own fears, a lot of my own mental beliefs, face a lot of failure, getting rejection on a daily basis. And so in the podcast, we're going to talk a lot about the failures, how to overcome them, and how to stack those small wins to build up your confidence, because that ultimately is what allows you to take even more action and get to that point of freedom even faster. So right now I'm living in London, England with my wife and 1.5-year-old daughter. Most of you know me as the real estate guy, but on this podcast, we're going to be talking from guests all over the globe about what their version of freedom is and how they got there, plus what they're pursuing next. So I hope you guys enjoy the show. Please remember, I'm giving away $1,000 at the end of January if you leave a 5-star review. And you can follow me on socials at Weimer Investments on Instagram and at Weimer Investments on YouTube. See you there and enjoy the show.